What's up guys, Nick from VapeMeet here. It seems that misinformation is continuing to spread even here in Canada. On October 23rd, Dr. Brett Belchetz, a Canadian ER doctor, appeared as a guest on the Marilyn Denis show for a segment on vaping. Today I'll be looking at what the doctor had to say and giving my input as we go along. If you're interested in seeing the whole video, I'll be sure to leave a link in the description below. Now let's get into it. To start, even the introduction about vaping by Marilyn Denis was already a little misleading.
The medical community is still unable to pinpoint the cause of these illnesses.
This isn't exactly accurate. Multiple sources, including the CDC and Mayo Clinic, have strong evidence that the cause is the use of counterfeit THC products. We do have videos covering this on our channel, so feel free to check those out if you want more information. Marilyn starts off by asking the doctor to explain what vaping is, and things start off fine.
So electronic cigarettes are electronic devices. They typically are in the shape of a cigarette. They typically have a few similar components. So they contain a battery and they also contain a solution. And in that solution, there's usually some amount of nicotine, some amount of flavorings, and then other chemicals that can vary from e-cigarette device to e-cigarette device.
What he's saying here is a little misleading. When it comes to e-liquid, the ingredients are consistent, containing vegetable glycerin, propylene glycol, flavoring, and nicotine, which is optional.
In this outbreak of illness that we've been speaking to, we still don't know why it's happening, but some part of that process where that mist is being absorbed and delivered into the bloodstream, where those chemicals are being absorbed, it's causing severe inflammation and damage to the lung tissue. And actually, doctors that have been treating patients with this illness have said that the damage actually looks a lot like what you would see in the setting of chemical burns. So this is quite serious.
There actually is evidence that these injuries are caused by counterfeit THC products. Solvents and pesticides have been found in black market cartridges at extremely high concentrations, and notably, certain chemicals, when heated up, break down into dangerous fumes like hydrogen cyanide, which is capable of causing chemical injuries in the lungs. This was reported by CannaSafe, a cannabis testing facility based out of California. Dr. Belchetz goes on to explain the magnitude of this problem. The majority of these cases have been in the States, which has led the Center for Disease Control to make a statement on vaping.
We're so concerned about this that the Centers for Disease Control is actually advocating that you completely not use these devices at all.
This was said by the CDC, but he left out the fact that it was updated. Originally, they stated to avoid the use of e-cigarettes, but when the cause became clearer, it was changed to add the distinction of THC products. So up until this point, the statements made by the doctor have been iffy and misleading, but not something we haven't seen before. What really got to me was what happened next.
There's a lot of noise out there that vaping is healthier than smoking, and in fact, it is a public health service because it helps people to quit.
Right.
And I wish that were the case. I wish that's how these products were being used. Unfortunately, the data just doesn't support that.
Just wait, it gets worse.
So the people that are using these products, unfortunately, primarily are youth who have never smoked. And people who are older who have smoked are not really using these devices. So when we look at adults aged 45 to 64, only 2% of them have used vaping products. When we look at adults over 65, only 1% of them are using vaping products. So the data just doesn't support that this is being used to quit.
As you can imagine, I have quite a few problems with what was said here. First, I have no clue where he got those figures from. During my research for this video, I looked for a while and couldn't find any sources to back up his statement. He also misses a huge portion of our population. Going from teens and then to 45 to 65-year-olds makes it seem like he's trying to push the stats in a biased direction. And finally, vaping has been proven to be an effective method of quitting smoking. Over other options of quitting such as nicotine replacement therapy, studies in the UK show vaping has proven to be the most effective and has the highest rates of continued use. This means vapers are not going back to smoking. And if we want to look at some Canadian stats, a 2017 study by the University of Waterloo states that 54.1% of former smokers reported using an e-cigarette versus a mere 6.7% of non-smokers. This is why I constantly tell you guys to do your own research and look at the facts. At the end of the segment, Marilyn asked the doctor what advice he has to address the quote-unquote alarming issue of vaping.
This is always going to be a tough discussion.
Yeah.
The most important thing is to come armed with the facts, come armed with the facts, come armed with the facts, come armed with the facts.
I think maybe he should start following his own advice, don't you think? I think this video serves as a great example showing that even when factual information is out there and readily available, the media will always choose to cover what gets views. Well, that's about it for today's video. If you're interested in seeing the full interview, check out the link in the description. And finally, if you support vaping, share this video so we can fight against the spread of misinformation. As always, I'm Nick from VapeMeet. Thanks for watching.